I got something I got to get off my chest, guys. And this is somewhat related to what we generally talk about, but then it's different. It's different. If anybody's ever watched Sim Hangout, then they know they may be familiar with Mazique stories. So this is pretty much one of those types of things. So I want to start off by saying this. Adults, and I'm looking, usually guys, I don't look dead in the camera because I try to look at the person who's talking. So usually, so Books is talking, his screen is down here, so I'm looking down here, whatever. But I'm looking dead in the camera when I say this. Adults ruin kids' sports.
Uh-oh.
Not kids, adults. So I was coaching my son, right? Coaching my son in basketball. And this particular team that he's on this year is not as talented as some of the teams he's played on before, which is totally fine, right? Totally fine. Because when you coach youth sports, you already know that the talent levels are going to go here and there. You already know that. That's just something that you know coming in, right? The worst part about that is that every parent, not every, 95% of parents think that their child is about 75% better than they actually are. Like almost every single parent. This is just, it's very rare to find a parent that is 100% honest about who their child is as an athlete, no matter what the score, whatever, what the sport is, right? So I'm going to tell you guys, it started off, and it always starts subtle, right? So I'm coaching. Now, we only got 7 kids, okay? We only had 7 kids. So I'm coaching, and I'm just to be honest, my son has not been one of the better players on most teams that he's played. I mean, he's been like top 3 on some of the other teams. But this team's not as talented as the other, so he's clearly the best player on the team. Just it's not even really up for debate. It's clear, right? It's not like there's not even like another kid was like, oh, it's kind of close, because really he was put on the wrong team. But he's put on the wrong team because he's new to the school and blah blah blah, right? So I'm coaching the team, and I'm trying to make, one of my objectives is I want to make sure every kid plays. Because no kid wants to just sit, that even though a lot of them, I'm trying to just tell you, if I got to tell you what a 3-point line is, that's generally a bad sign. If I have to tell you where the low block is, that's generally a bad sign. So, but this is what we're dealing with, and it's fine. It's cool. Kids are, like I said, kids are always awesome. They're like almost always awesome. So we're in this game, and the game's super close. This particular game, my kid can't shoot a skittle in the ocean, right? But none of the other kids, they are hitting either, and then that's normal because most of the time they don't make their shots anyway. So the game's super close. And so you only got 2 kids on the bench, right? Because then my team only had 7. So I'm trying to find a way to get these other 2 kids in the game, and clearly they're not of the more talented kids. Trying to get them in the game. They end up getting in the game a little bit late. So here comes one parent. And this is when you always, this sign number 1, if you're a youth coach, sign number 1 that there's a problem coming. Mom walks up to me, hey, my son, I'm not giving his name for a reason. My son wants to know, he thinks you're mad at him. I said, no, why would I be mad at him? I said, everything's cool. Oh, okay. Well, he was just wondering because he didn't get a lot of playing time. So, translation, asking for a friend. Why is my child not playing? That you want to know this. This is not the kid talking. This is you. So I said, no, it's no issue. I said the game was really tight. I try to put the kids in the best situation for them to succeed. That was all it was. That's it. Next game comes. I purposely make sure this kid and a couple other kids play more. Every time this kid gets subbed out, this parent's in the stands going, "Oh my God, are you serious?" Every time the kid gets pulled out of the game. And I don't even turn around. But this is going on behind me. My wife is sitting in the stands. They're talking trash about me and my child in the stands. Literally, adults are doing this, right? So now nobody has come up to me and directly said, "Hey, there's a problem with the playing time." Nobody said that yet, right? Then somebody goes to whoever the guy is that's over or whatever, and he says, "Hey man, you got to work to get the kids in the game." Now, mind you, nobody ever told me that you're supposed to make sure that every kid plays. I'm going to tell you, man, there are kids that are on this team, man, that if I left them in a gym by themselves for an hour, they could not make 20 shots in a gym in there. Dude, we're doing free throw drills. I got kids missing construction 6 out of 10 shots. I'm talking about rim, backboard, the whole thing. You know what? I don't have a problem with that. But I just need for you to understand where we are and what's going on here, right? That's all I want you to know. Understand that. Have you been in the driveway with little Jimmy? And his name's not Little Jimmy, but I'm just saying, has you been in the driveway with him? How many shots did he make? Have you asked little Jimmy to dribble? Can little Jimmy dribble? Have you asked little Jimmy what is a basketball? Have you sat down with little Jimmy and watched any basketball? But no, you're going to show up at practice and hand him to me and say, "Work a miracle," and make sure he plays 35 minutes. He don't need a team. He need camp. That's what he needs, camp. So the last game, and I'm going to say the last game because the season was not over. I decided it was going to be the last game. I go to the last game. We're in the game. A mother from one of the other players literally is in the stands heckling my child. Like, you know how when a guy leaves a team early and then when he comes back and plays that team and the fans are mad at him, every time he touches it, they boo. This lady is literally doing this to my 12-year-old. It wasn't a good day.
That's disgusting.
It was terrible. So I say in the middle of the game, every time he gets it, "Pass the ball, pass the ball." Every time he gets it, this is what she's doing. Loud as day. He hears it. Everybody hears it. So I just say, "Hey, stop heckling my child," from the sidelines. It all goes, the people just start, yeah. So I said, "You know what? I'm done." I said, "You coach. You come over here and you coach. I'm done." And I walk out of the gym. I get my family and we leave. And I left in the middle of the game. I said, "That's it." Dude, no kid ever had an issue. I mean, we had the greatest moment. Dude, I had just put in plays where all of the plays were video game names. One play was Call of Duty. The other play was Soul Calibur. The next play was Super Smash Brothers. You should have seen their faces. They're like cheesing through the wall. Everybody's so excited. But then we get here around the adults and they're putting their own expectations on the kids. And you always know when a parent has been talking to their kid about you as a coach. The next practice, the kid comes in with an attitude. Practice before that, he was fine. No problems. Next time he comes in asking you adult level questions. So if I were to get 5 points, would that result in me getting approximately 11.2 minutes per game of playing time? What? Tell your mama I said, shut up. Tell your mama I said, go and have 47 seats. Okay? Don't ever, dude. And some guy comes up on the sidelines and tells me, I better not put my kid in the game over some other kid. I said, where were you, big dummy, when they said, who wants to coach? They gave all of you guys an opportunity to coach. But none of y'all said nothing. But then the guy who steps up and says, oh, I'll coach. Then now we have a fleet of kibitzers to sit on the side and throw things. This guy is not a bright fella. He's not a bright fella. This guy emails me, and I've gotten to the point where I don't care. So don't worry about me. The guy emails me over and over all of these, just literally harassing me via email about 12-year-old basketball, man. And then to show you that he's not really like bright, he's emailing me, man. And he says, just to let you know, this is so-and-so, not my wife. I'm like, at the top of the email, like, it's clear who the email's from. Like, you're that non-internet savvy that you don't realize that this is what I'm talking about, Books. This is what you deal with when you get into youth sports. The kids are never the problem. It's always the adults. It's always the adult. I got into this because I wanted to coach my son. I wanted to be around. I wanted to help other young kids out. But the parents won't allow you to. And I mean, there's horror stories all over the place about this kind of stuff. I mean, it gets much worse than that. I mean, people have gotten into fights and all that kind of stuff. All that kind of stuff has happened. I chose not to allow it to go there. And I just collected all of my people, which were the only brown people in this particular place. And I said, I know where I'm at. I know if any conflict happens, I know the big 6'5" bald head black man is going to be considered to be in the wrong. He's going to be considered to be the aggressor here. So I'm going to leave because I don't want that smoke. I just had to get that. That was probably the best definition of a rant that we've had since we've been on this show.
That is a true rant.
That was a true rant. It was a true rant. It's just absolutely insane, man. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. Man, we got one lady. This is the parents we're dealing with. They're like in the audience trying to get people to touch boils on their chest. Like, look at this here. This is look at this. It's going on, man. This is what happens in youth sports.
That's grody.
This is what we deal with. This is what we deal with. Dude. I had to go into prayer, just intense, just because that whole thing is just totally insane, man. Like, you would not believe some of the conversations that these adults are having about youth sports, the level of animosity that can like for 12-year dude. I have to tell your son that he's allowed to jump.
Although I have to say, I'm surprised that 12-year-olds are that bad, because when I came, maybe it's the New York thing. When I came up, it's 12-year-olds. Oh, so it'd be so good.
No, man. Well, you know what? There are some 12-year-olds that are that good. It's just not
even like pro kids, just like little Spanish kids come off the handball court.
No, man,
tear you up.
I told this kid to stand on the low block. He thought that meant he couldn't move.
Oh man.
So the ball's like rolling past him. He's like, I said, abandon ship. Abandon ship. Get the ball. Get the dog. And then the rebound's coming. And now granted, this is the kid whose father is telling me that who I can't put in the game.
Uh-huh.
Rebound's coming down, but he's standing on the low block. So instead of moving his feet, he goes like this. He's like one of those characters that you remember, like in the old Star Wars toys where they had the little notch and they had to fit in a hole.
Yeah, on the stand. Yeah,
he's just swiveling, man. He's just got. And you know what? Great kid. Anytime you tell him something, hey man, oh yeah, oh no, yes.
Apparently he follows orders.
He does. He follows orders to a T. But his father is insane. Totally nuts. And it's just like, dude, this is what do you think we're doing here? Like, for real. It's just insane. So I exited, and yes, I had to. It was just too much. It's just too
So
much.
you're not coaching anymore?
I am not.
Wow.
I'm not, man. I'm not. Because you know what made me really make the decision though? I made the decision that I wasn't coaching because I started to see how it was affecting my son.
Uh-huh.
He was playing with pressure that didn't have anything to do with just simply trying to win.
Uh-huh.
And when I saw him carrying pressure that was coming from adults, I felt that it was necessary for me to remove that from his life.
Mm-hmm.
Because if my 12-year-old is playing a basketball game and there's an adult in a stands heckling him, that's to me, that's too much.
That is terrible.
That's too much. That's too much. I would never do that. I would never do anything like that to a kid and anything like that. I would never do that. And it's
What's
just
crazy is they sound like they're on the same team.
they on the same team.
That's crazy. Like
I wouldn't even heckle a kid from the other team.
right, let alone on your own team. That's
On
wild.
my own team. But that just shows you that your object. Like one person told me, it was like, well, you know how people are about winning. I said, this was not about winning.
Right.
This was about wanting to see your child do whatever you think your child's able to do. And his whole thing is, yeah, that kid isn't even that good. Why is that your objective? Like, why is that your focus? It's just, it was a very frustrating ordeal. It was funny after a while. It was actually pretty, like later on that
Sounds
night.
pretty funny.
Oh, dude, we laughed so hard at some of the stuff that because just it was it, I'm trying to tell you, man, it's it was insane. It's just some of the stuff that was like one of the kids whose parent was the most vocal. He can't run up and down the court more than 3 times without literally being in an emergency need of a substitution.
What?
Yes. Like, and he's 12.
That's crazy.
Like, I'm talking about face flush red as my shirt. On about 3 to 4 trips up the floor. He got hit in the nose once. He fell out like it was a sniper in the building. I literally had to go over to him and go, calm down, breathe, breathe, breathe. And he just kept going. Like he checked for blood like 97 times. I'm like, you're gonna create blood from this action here.
Yeah.
This is what's gonna happen. You're gonna be bleeding. Dude, like my instructions were every time you get it, shoot. Because here's the thing. There's a possibility that something good could happen from that.
Uh-huh.
But everything else you might do,
something bad guaranteed to happen.
Bad don't happen. And you know what? Coaching kids that are not that talented is not the problem. That's actually fun, right? Because when they have successes, you're like, oh yeah, like you have all these games within a game, because you're like, oh man, he just did that. And I know him, and that's something that he wasn't able to do before.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where your expectations need to be when you know what's happening. And the thing of it is like people forget the good kids, they're still 12 too.
Yeah.
And they still want to win too. So should they have to take down what their desires and their wants because your kid's not as good? So like, so my son, a couple other kids, well, one other kid on the team, they actually can make shots regularly.
Mm-hmm.
They can run an offense, get good shots, and get shot. Okay, so clearly the offense is going to run through them. Clearly. What are you talking about? Do you know how many balls I have to go get out of the hallway after your kid shot a layup? During practice, where are you? I'm here watching balls fly all over the freaking spot like it's the freaking fireworks show. It's insane. It's just totally insane.
Well, we did a service to the people. It's okay to coach kids, but you can't coach parents.
You cannot coach parents. And if you are a parent and you're listening to this and you have a child in youth sports, unless your child is getting it physically or verbally or emotionally abused, shut up. Just shut up. I'm saying unless the coach is like doing something to your kid, like yelling at them, berating them, insulting them, any of that stuff, telling them they're not good or something like that, just shut up. Just shut up, because you're not helping anybody. Because and the thing, and now here's another thing. If your kid doesn't love that sport, don't make them play it. Don't make them play it. Don't make your kid play anything that they don't want to do, because you know what? That kid's great at something. It's just not basketball. And that's okay. That's okay. It's okay if that's not what he's good at. There's something that you'll have to stop him from doing because he loves it so much. Your job is to find out what that is, as long as it's legal. You know, but it's like you couldn't play basketball, or either you were good at basketball, and now all of a sudden you want him or her to be good at it too. And it's just not, it might just not be their thing. And stop putting chubby kids on the floor and forcing them to lose weight because they're going to run it off in basketball. If he don't love it, stop making him. And now if he loves it and you're like, hey, you know what? It would be a good idea for you to work out. Let's do it in basketball because you love basketball, right? Well, let's do that. That's different. But if he hates basketball and you're going to lose that weight, you're going to play this basketball, you're making him miserable. You're making everybody on his team miserable. And you're making the coach that has to ask him to run miserable. Don't be selfish. Just shut up. That's all I got. That's all I got. I had to get that off my chest, though.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah. Woo! Trying to tell you, man, it's real, man. I would love to see philosophical, super articulate books talking to these parents. Just for 5 minutes. I would love to see what would have happened if this coach would have approached you on the sidelines and said, listen, buddy, you're not going to put your kid in this game. So they said, sir, I'm going to have to ask you to lower your voice and lower your hand. If you do not do either, I'm going to be forced to thrash you.
Surprisingly, not too far from probably what would happen. I only got 2 modes in anger, and the first one is extreme calm. Extreme calm.
I mean, dude, it was so hilarious. The dude like comes up to my nipple and he's over there and he's like, listen, buddy. And so I don't know where he got that the 6'5" bald head black man was the one to pull it with. I don't know where he got that from, but I guess I hadn't shown him Southside Brian. I don't know. I don't know what it was. So I turned and I look at him. I said, you don't want that problem. I promise you, you don't want that problem. I promise you. And he looked at me, and I guess it clicked back in.
Oh,
you know,
right.
He
I could lose control of this.
He stepped back. Right. And I'm like, this dude is, I said, dude, we talking about 12-year-old basketball, and you are invading a grown man's personal space about 12-year-old basketball. There ain't that much crystal meth in the world. What is going on? It's crazy, man. I gotta go. I gotta go. I appreciate everybody who stayed for this insane rant about child sports. This is what you get at me, bro, every once in a while. But don't be one of those parents.
Hey, saving the world one bad parent at a time.
Don't be one of those parents. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not a good look. Don't be Roger Clemens. He did the same thing at a baseball game, attack the coach. Just don't do that. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Until next time, I appreciate you watching as always. God bless. Peace.
How could I be weak? I'm very unique.